Hey everybody, hopefully all of you are doing well. Today we're going to be making a Bananas Foster's banana pudding. The name I'm calling it Chilled Bananas Foster's banana pudding is because of the fact that I had to break the recipe down a little bit due to the fact that when you make regular Bananas Foster's, you have to, make the sauce and you put the bananas in the sauce. Well, if you do that for a banana pudding, the bananas are going to just slowly kind of just draw up and turn to mush in the hot sauce. So what we're going to do is make the sauce first, let it cool down, and then we're going to proceed with the recipe as usual. I have been working on this recipe, but also somebody requested it. So I'm killing two birds with one stone. So let's move on to the recipe. To start the homemade pudding off, we're going to go in with some whole milk and some heavy cream right into a saucepan over medium heat. In the meantime, we're going to take our 8 egg yolks and some sugar, cornstarch, and salt, and we're going to whisk it up until it's nice and smooth. Let me tell you guys this right up front that I have adapted this pudding recipe to have less sugar because of the fact that we are going to be adding, of course, the Foster sauce. And the Foster sauce has brown sugar in it, so that's why I did that. Now we're going to take the dairy and we're going to pour half of it into a container where we can slowly drizzle it into the egg mixture to bring those eggs up to temperature. This is called tempering. What we're doing is pouring the hot milk and heavy cream slowly into the egg mixture to allow the eggs to be tempered, so that way you bring them up to temperature without cooking them. So that's why we want to move the whisk really fast and just drizzle the milk and heavy cream in very slowly. Next, we're going to take the egg mixture and whisk it back into the saucepan that's on the stove, still over medium heat. Now it's just time to cook the pudding. As the pudding cooks, you need to continue to whisk it. In the recipe, I have a rhythm for doing that. It's like stir for 30 seconds and then you stand back for so many seconds. And at the end, this is about 7 or 8 minutes later, you just add a little bit of butter at the end and it's done. It doesn't take that much time, but you do need to babysit it. All right, so we're just going to add our pudding to a bowl and then we're going to whisk in our vanilla. Since I was in a hurry, I chose to give the pudding an ice bath before I put it in the refrigerator because I wanted to bring the temperature down fairly quickly. You can let it sit on the counter after you put the saran wrap on the top for about 20 minutes or so, and then put it in the refrigerator for 6 to 8 hours or overnight. Okay, it's the actual day of service, so to make the Foster sauce, I'm going to take 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter along with just more than 1 cup of light brown sugar and place it into a 10-inch skillet over medium heat. So just let the brown sugar and the butter meld together really nicely until the sugar dissolves. And then we're going to add our cinnamon and our vanilla. Now I lost my clip of the pure vanilla extract, but that's what you're going to add at this point too. Once all of the sugar is dissolved, turn off the heat. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add our rum, and we're going to be making sure we're using a wooden spoon or a heat-resistant silicone spatula. Those are the safest 2 types of utensils to use for this job. So just pour those in, give them a stir, and then we're going to take a fire stick and ignite the mixture. I had to use a fire stick in this particular instance because of the fact that the sides of my pan were high. So it wasn't going to ignite with me just shaking the pan back and forth if I was using a lower skillet. So I just used that, and you be careful, stand back, and it's only going to stay right there in the pan. Be extremely careful. Once all of the alcohol is burned off, I like to put it back over medium heat only for about 30 seconds to a minute, just so I can make sure there's no crystallized sugar, and then I pour it right into a bowl, and we're going to let it cool down just slightly. While the sauce is cooling, I'm just going to take a whisk to our very thick pudding and whisk it to a very smooth texture. If you don't like your pudding this thick, go ahead and fold in a little bit of whipped cream to make it lighter. But the thickness on this pudding is going to help it stand up to what we're getting ready to do with all the cookies, the bananas, and the sauce. Now it's just time to slice our bananas. And all of my banana puddings, I use anywhere from 10 to 12 bananas, especially this one because I like the presence of bananas. And what you can do is save back some of the Foster sauce, about 2 or 3 tablespoons for the topping, and then toss all 10 or 12 bananas in all of the sauce. Alright, so it's time to assemble this banana pudding and wrap it up. So now we're going to go with our layers. My layers are going to be cookies, pudding, bananas, repeat. And that's because I'm using this trifle dish. If you don't have one, don't worry about it. This will still work in a 9x11 or a 9x13 just fine. See, now you can see why I held back on some of the sugar in the pudding, because we're adding these bananas. Bananas are sweet. We have the Foster sauce, and we're adding cookies. Kind of want the dessert to be balanced, of course, and not too sweet, even though it's still going to be sweet, but balanced just the same. Now I'm going to go in with some chessmen cookies because I haven't used them in a while and they're kind of fun, and they stand up to this type of dessert with all this sauce. They don't go too soggy right away. Yes, you can use vanilla wafers. I've done it and I'll show you what it looks like, and it works just the same. One thing's for sure, if you use vanilla wafers for this recipe, have some extra cookies to the side so that if people want some extra texture with a crunchier cookie, have them ready, okay? Once I got to the top, I decided to turn the cookies on their side. That way I can do 2 layers on the outer part of the banana pudding. But I was a little worried. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get all that pudding and stuff in here, but I did. And then we're just going to put our last layer of pudding, a few more cookies, top it with some fresh whipped cream and that Foster sauce that we held back 2 or 3 tablespoons, and you are done. Gorgeous, isn't it? Thank you guys so much for coming and cooking with me. You know I appreciate it when you come and hang out. Don't forget, this recipe along with others can be found at gdseasoning.com, and I'll see you next time.